Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a beautiful day on the mountain. This is the Mercedes CLA35 AMG, and I have wanted to drive it for quite some time because it is the cheapest new car you can get with an AMG badge, cheapest by about $2,000. This is $54,900 base. GLA and GLB are both a couple thousand more than that, but are, I would say, less sporty. This is the sportiest entry-level thing they've got. And this particular car, optioned out, is $62,000, which, if you ask me, sounds like kind of a lot, and we'll get to that in a bit. But in this video, we will explore a couple of things. One is the cheapest AMG still feel like a premium sporty product worthy of the badge. Number two is, even though it's a front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive architecture with a 4-cylinder engine and a mild hybrid 48-volt system, is it still fun? And number three, how does it compare in the marketplace? Because actually this price point is a pretty competitive segment. So the boilerplate items, you've got a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo, front-wheel drive based 4MATIC all-wheel drive. It's 302 horsepower at 5,800 RPM, and it's 295 pound-feet of torque at 3,000 RPM. The mild hybrid doesn't really provide any propulsion. It really just runs some of the accessories and makes for a more effective start-stop system. When you turn the car on, it doesn't go, it just goes from off to on. 8-speed automatic gearbox, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, and the quarter mile in 13 flat. It's actually pretty quick. That's not bad for this car at all. But 3,703 pounds curb weight. That is a porky little 4-cylinder car. The MBUX looks like pretty much all the other Mercedes now. You've got the touchscreen, you've got the gauge cluster is one big wide double screen. That's sort of the thing that they're doing right now. It is quite different from the CLA35 AMG. The 45 has quite a bit more power. The bodywork looks a little different. The wheels and tires are different. This does look like a half step, but let's drive it and find out. You've got your drive modes here. You've got Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Adaptive suspension is available as an option on this car, but even at $62,000, this car doesn't have it. Then you've got your manual and automatic button, your traction button. We're going to go Sport Plus. We're going to do a little launch ski here, and in our menus, we'll pull up the performance menu with metrics that show power and torque. I do love this IWC mode. That's Mercedes collab with IWC watches, and the stopwatch is an IWC Big Pilot calendar chronograph, which is pretty cool, and you can use that as a stopwatch. But I'll pull up my power and torque screen, and we're going to launch in automatic, and then we'll go into manual. So here we go. Folks, today's video is brought to you by Movaglobe. These things are the coolest. We've got them here at the studio, and they just mesmerize people. Movaglobes are some of my favorite gifts for friends and family. If someone moves into a new home, if they get a new gig, man, they are so cool. These globes are not connected to any power source, and they spin and swirl on their own from light, and not even natural light. The lights in your office, the lights in your house, that makes them work. There's no cables, there's no batteries. They are powered by light. Movaglobes come in different sizes, and there's art globes, there's realistic globes like the Earth or planets, there's satellite view globes, there's sports team globes. There's a globe for every taste at their website. So head over there, go shopping, get one for yourself, get one for your dad, get one for your mom, get one for a friend, and use code SmokingTire at checkout. Hit the link in the video description, type in code SmokingTire at checkout, 10% off at Movaglobe, and thank you to Movaglobe for sponsoring today's video. kick there. It seems to have this subwoofer boom when it upshifts, but only in automatic mode. If I shift and... Oh, no, that's actually not true. It wasn't doing it before. Oh, that's because I was in Sport and not Sport Plus. In Sport Plus, you get the boom. So it actually does feel pretty quick on its feet, and it also feels pretty agile. We've got Bridgestone Potenza tires here, and the suspension is definitely tuned sporty, firm, but not abusive, but it's a little bumpy on the highway. It sounds pretty aggressive. Most of this road is going to be in 3rd and 4th gear. Brake pedal feels nice, firm. Hit the red line there. The steering is very light. It's got basically the same steering wheel you get in much more expensive Mercedes like the SL and the G-Wagon. It's covered in buttons though. I don't love the covered in buttons wheel, especially not when they're haptic. My wife, who tried this car, also didn't really love that. I like that it's small on the outside, but has lots of space in the front seats. Back seats, not so much. If you're carrying passengers around a lot, you may want to go to something like a C-Class with more back seat, or even the GLA, which does have a bit more room back there. A low headroom is not really it. Feels very composed, poised. The turn-in is really sharp too. I don't love the downshifts. You seem to need quite a big buffer at the top of the rev range in order to actually get the gear. More revs than would actually be mathematically required in this case. Little water splash here. The name of the game with this car is actually composure. Whereas the 45 range, it feels sort of like manic and aggro. This one feels actually a little more balanced. And I like an AMG to be manic and aggro, but the performance and the grip and the handling, all kind of in a nice balance here. It's genuinely not bad. We'll flip around. Very good turning radius. For a front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system, I'm definitely impressed at the turning radius. Just because that car just went by, we'll just go into comfort mode for a little bit. And with comfort mode, it upshifts early. It doesn't sound like much. And actually, it's interesting. It feels like looser. You know, it doesn't feel, everything is very soft. Everything is sort of doing its own thing. And the whole car just has a sort of looser feeling about it. If all you ever did was drive around in comfort mode and you didn't really turn everything up to Sport Plus and huck it through a canyon, which, let's be honest, a lot of AMG owners that buy this for the image are going to do that, it really feels unspecial. It's just kind of nothing. You really have to turn up the wick back to Sport Plus, back to manual. In fact, we'll go automatic here because I don't love the response of the paddle shifters. We will see how the gearbox does on its own. Oh, and we've caught a Jeep, which is not a surprise. So far, and I don't just mean right this second, I mean in the last day or two, the car, when left to its own shifting choices, stays a gear higher than I would go in almost all situations. Now, maybe it knows something I don't know, but it always seems a little further down the rev range than it should be for the type of driving I want to do. We'll wait here and make ourselves a little gap. In the meantime, things I really like. The Burmeister stereo, pretty good. The red leather, it's optional. It's nice. I will say the seats are not quite as comfortable as they look. They look sort of fancy and like they've got a lot of bolstering here, but they don't actually feel luxurious when you sit in them. This one, the driver's seat, does have an adjustable bolster, but they don't envelop you in the way that Mercedes seats normally do. I like that there's some manual buttons for the climate. I like that there's these quick select knobs for the drive modes, and I don't have to do absolutely every little thing through the touchscreen. But I do have to do a lot through the touchscreen. I like that there's a scrolly knob here for the volume, and I don't have to use the haptic there. So far, I've gotten pretty good fuel economy, considering, let's see, performance. So far, well, I've gotten 17 miles per gallon today, which, considering what I've been doing with the car today, is pretty good, actually. I've averaged somewhere in the middle 30 range for the rest of the week, and that's pretty all right. We'll do one more launch because we're here. This time we'll try it in manual mode. Here we go. So you really want to tug that paddle when you cross about 55, 5600 to avoid hitting red line. The thing about that is the gauge looks like it goes to 7, and the definition, the literal definition of the red line on the gauge isn't exact. So because it's a digital screen, you do want to upshift a little earlier, otherwise you're going to hit the red line. Now, I don't know what this thing is like when you're trying to make it move, when you're trying to actually go beyond the limit of traction. And I haven't touched the traction control yet. We're in sport mode right now, but as long as you're keeping it within the limits of grip, it's not bad. It is fun. It's responsive. If you go up a canyon road like this, you can have a good time. For the most part, it does what is asked of it, as long as you don't try to upshift too close to the red line or downshift too high in the rev range. You want to keep it right in that meat between peak torque and peak power, so between 3 and 5800. So it's not a GT3, but that's where it makes its power, that's where it's happy. There's a bit of resonance, and the floor of the trunk, the trunk floor doesn't have very much grip, so things you put back there slide around. So I've had to strap my camera case to the back seat, so you're hearing it right now, but you'd hear it more if it went thunk, 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 thunk every corner. So now I'm just on the red line in second. This gearbox response was a defining characteristic of the old 7-speed in the first gen CLA, and it's nice to see it's carried over. All right, we're gonna find a spot here. Ooh. It's more fun uphill when you're leaning on the power than it is going downhill when you're leaning on the brakes. That's an interesting thing. The brakes are fine, but it's definitely more fun to stay leaned onto the engine. Okay, so is it a real AMG for mid to high $50,000 range? I think yes. I think it has all of the characteristics that you would want from an AMG, just in smaller quantities. So yes, I do think it is. Despite the weight and the mild hybrid, is it fun? Yes, it is fun in the right circumstance. The V8 cars, they're more fun in the city. You know, I mean, they're fun on the hill as well, but you know, this is not fun when you're putting around light to light in urban driving. Then it doesn't feel like an AMG. When you come up on the mountain and you start to throw it around a little bit, then it does come a bit alive, and it's a pretty good time. Now, in the marketplace, the problem is very competitive. You've got, at the lower end, cars like the Integra Type S, which is only a manual gearbox, doesn't have all-wheel drive, but I would argue is better value for money than this car, is more fun, and that's what I would probably buy. Then you've got the Audi S3. That's a little cheaper than this. Same kind of power numbers and similar performance numbers, but it's lighter. It doesn't have that mild hybrid system. It weighs a little over 200 pounds lighter, less. And so those are really nice too. And they have a little more space inside. And I also personally prefer how they look a little more. So I might consider the Audi S3. Then you've got, if you don't need 4 doors, you've got the BMW M240i, which is about the same price as this going out the door. It's all-wheel drive also, and it is way faster. I mean, that's a really, really fast car. I don't love how that looks, and the back seat is, you know, not much less usable than here. But if you want speed for money, that's probably the fastest car in this price point. So that's where you're at. This sort of bounces around in the middle. If I wanted a sedan, I'd probably buy the S3. If I wanted the fastest car I could get, I'd probably want the 240, or if I didn't need a back seat at all, a Supra. And if I wanted the best, most usable, fun driving sedan for this money, the Integra is more fun, I think a little faster, it's more engaging and responsive, and it has a bigger back seat. You could actually fit 4 people comfortably in that car. So, but nevertheless, for the $5 rock first one's free hit entry point into AMG ownership, yeah, it does feel like an AMG when you're in the right circumstance. So shout out to Mercedes for letting me have a go in this for a week. I finally got a chance, and it's an interesting drive. Thank you to you guys for watching, and I will see you later.